As many of you know, um, while I would like to say that that doesn't still affect me, it does. And that's not a bad thing, because loss is one of those things that you kind of have to experience it to understand how it feels. But just because you know how it feels doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. No, I lost my best friend. His name was Landon Gayton. He died at the age of 9. Um, and honestly, I never thought life would be the same without him, and it hasn't been. But what I do know is that it's hard to comprehend change, and it always will be. Because we have such a set structure of what we think our life is going to go like, especially with people, that when that structure is taken away in any form, whether it's because of loss or because, whether it's because you lose them or they lose you, it always brings up the interesting question of how much longer would this have gone on? Especially with dead people. That's a big one with me. When someone dies, I have a lot of time where I'm like, how long would everything have stayed the same it would have if this person hadn't died? And that's obviously a question you can't answer, because they're gone, and then you'll start blaming yourself for their death, because you'll be like, well, could I have done anything to prevent it? And while generally, in some sense, yes, there was a preventability to the situation, it's just a technicality. You didn't know they were gonna die, so you couldn't have prevented it unless you knew they were gonna die and you had tried to save them and they still died, which even then it's not necessarily your fault. Then it's not your fault. Someone else's death should never be perceived as your own fault, because you aren't the person, even if they weren't murdered or anything, you aren't the person who made them die. You might have, even if someone commits suicide because you said something to them, that's not your fault. Yes, you might have not helped the cause. There has to have been someone who, especially people who commit suicide, there's other stuff going on in their mind than, oh, this person called me an asshole or whatever. No, there's more going on in their mind than just that. That's not the only thing that's going to contribute to such a thing happening to them. So you never should blame yourself for anyone's death. But if you do, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because we all try to take blame for things that we couldn't control, and while that is not good mentally for us, it's something we can't stop. We're just human, and we start to think, and when we think, we don't stop thinking. But what I think you should do, if you're ever in a situation of loss, especially if someone really close to you, whether that be family or a best friend, I find it not necessarily easy to do such, but I find it best if you try to think of it as not necessarily they're in a better place, but they don't have to deal with everything that was going on in their life anymore. Everything that sucked for them, everything that they didn't like, all that is gone. And while there might have been more good to outweigh the bad in a lot of people's cases, that doesn't necessarily mean that they aren't happier. And while it's trivial to try to say that, because, religions and stuff, and people have their own beliefs on what exists, what's out there, but whatever your belief on all that is, doesn't matter. You should always just try to take into account the hopeful possibility that whoever you lost is happier now. And that's a good thing, because even if they aren't in a happier place now, you don't need to think about that. That's not your fault. Unless you killed someone, it's not your fault. and then you should just worry that you should worry about yourself. You need to try to think how you're going to overcome it. You need to think how your life is going to change because of it, and you need to think of how to just have a better mind state, how to have a better mental state after such happenings. And that's what's healthy to do. You don't want to find yourself crying yourself to sleep every night, such as a lot of people do in a situation like this, because you just can't perceive that it wasn't your fault. So people will cry, and then they'll cry all night because it's their fault. And when people think something's their fault, it's hard for them to get out of that mindset, because the way our brains think is, it was my fault, there's no doubt about that, because such and such. Such as when I lost Landon, which is one of the main reasons I'm making this video, because Landon died 6 years ago as of yesterday, for the day I'm recording this. He died he died July 28th, 2017. So, I've been without Landon for a long time, so I know it's obviously what I'm feeling is probably, well, it's not probably, because I know for me, it's only gets stronger by the day. But a lot of people probably hear that and they're like, well, it's been 6 years, so it's not as bad anymore. But the thing with Landon, I guess I never really was able to think of it as he's in a happier place back when it happened, because all my history with Landon had kind of been, he was really happy. But thinking about his home life, and when that happened, that was my perception. It was, there's no way he's in a happier place, he was happier here. But now that I'm older and I can take a look back on what I knew and what I know now and everything in between, he's definitely in a happier place. Even if there is no afterlife, he's happier. Even if there is nothing, he's happier, because he did not live the greatest life. And I know that's not true for everyone. Not everyone is just gonna be in a happier place. I know with a lot of people it is, because a lot of people, especially at like in their teenage years, are going through a lot. And while that's not no excuse to just say, oh, okay, they're dead, screw it, they're happier, because some people really aren't. Some people probably were in really good lives and they didn't have to worry about anything, but they still die. And those are the people that who a lot of people are a lot more like, that's my fault, because this person was living a good life. People who have lived a bad life, the people who lived a bad life, it's easier to accept their death as something okay, because it's more okay in their situation than it is just a random kid who was really happy. But even then, those people still die. And the death of everyone hurts someone. There's no one who isn't hurt by someone's death. So I guess this is sort of a message for those who want to kill themselves too. Don't, because it might seem like no one's there for you, but there is people there for you. Even if I don't know you, I'm here for you. If you just comment on one of my videos and get in touch with me, I'll talk to you about it, and I'll help you through it. But whatever, if you don't want to, you don't have to. But I just want you to know that the loss of someone else is not no reason to make anyone else lose you. Because when you lose someone, you don't ever get over them. But if you But if you try to just get over it by ending yourself instead, then the way it's gonna go is no one's gonna be happy, which isn't a good thing, because the people who knew you are now going to be upset for your death, but the people who knew you and the other person now have to deal with your death and their death, and that's not fair. And now, suicide, I don't know, no one should ever have to feel like they are worthless. And I'm not sponsored by BetterHelp or anything. That's not what this is. This is just me saying the truth. And if you do ever need someone to talk to, there are plenty of places you can go. You can go to your family, you can go to your friends, you can go to online platforms such as BetterHelp, and hopefully they'll be able to help you, because people understand what you're going through. Even if you think you're alone, there's someone out there who's gone through something like it, if not exactly the same thing. And you don't want to feel like you're alone, because feeling alone just makes you more upset. So what I say, you do, is I say everyone just tries to be, not happy, but I say everyone tries and just lives. And I know that's a very weird statement coming from me because of who I am, but whatever the case is, then it'll work, because I don't want to lose any of you guys. And I know that's sort of a weird statement to make about people I don't know, but I don't want anyone to ever feel like they're sad or like they're alone, because I felt like I was alone since I was 7, and I still feel like I'm alone, and that's not a good feeling. No one wants to feel alone, but sometimes that's really all you can feel. So someday, for everyone out there, you will experience something that'll make you want to die. Everyone does. That's not always a bad thing, because that just means you're learning about life. You're learning what's happening, and then after such, you can eventually, not necessarily get over it, but you can realize that things happen. And after you realize that things happen, then you'll be not necessarily happy, but you'll be fine. Because that's all there is trying to figure out what we did wrong. That's all there is to being human. But I'm not here to try to be the guy who's like, oh, your life is perfect. That's not true. No one's life is perfect. But I think you're probably in a pretty okay spot if you are able to watch my videos. Unless my videos bring you comfort, maybe you're in a bad spot and I'm all you have. And that's okay. Because sometimes all we need is someone who, even if we don't know them, just it feels like they care. And I do care. And I know every YouTuber says that. They say, oh, I care, oh, you matter. But I mean it. You all matter to me. And I'm never going to just be like, haha, you all suck. I did this for the views, because that's not true. You guys are probably the best thing that's ever happened to me, and that's fine. So
So you're gonna pull the switch?
Whatever. Anyways, this is a video about loss, not suicide. So, when you lose someone, you go through one of three starter. You think either they aren't dead, there's no way they're dead, or you think that, not necessarily that you weren't dead, that they aren't dead, but you think that they're gonna just appear. I lost someone else very close to me recently, and we held his funeral on April 1st. So there was sort of that thought the whole time that, oh, he's gonna jump out and it'll all just be one joke. But that doesn't happen. That's never the case. I mean, obviously there's the few cases where that is the case, someone faked their death, but odds are, wherever you are in life right now, you are not dealing with someone who faked their death. You are dealing with the loss of someone who is actually dead. And we all go through that. So, when someone tries to make fun of you for being depressed, that's dumb, because everyone, at some point or another, will lose someone. So, the fact that they do that, maybe they've lost someone, and that's just how they cope with it. But I say you should never make fun of someone. You never know what they're going through. And, well, obviously that sounds like such a Judah type thing to say coming from someone who's bullied. You really don't. You don't know what someone's thinking. So I think that your safest bet is to just let it be. If someone's on your nerves, that doesn't mean you need to call them names. That doesn't mean that they are a bad person. What it means is that someone was able to upset you. And that's not a bad thing, because everyone gets upset. But what is a bad thing is when you let that go from letting them make you upset to letting them make you a bad person. Because it's one thing to ask someone to stop, but it's another thing to, when someone annoys you, start making fun of them and start treating them like they're a bad person for annoying you. Those are two completely different drawbridges. So maybe just be nice to people, right? I guess that's a big one. Even if you lost someone, don't let that be a reason to make others feel bad. And if someone's lost someone, don't try to use that against them to make them feel bad. And I've dealt with all of these. In some cases, I've gotten mad at people because I've lost someone, and I've been made fun of because I've lost someone. So I see that none of those are good things. But at the time, you're in this is probably, for anyone who's done such, you don't see it as bad, because you see it as, well, I'm in a bad state, so the fact that I'm doing this is fine because of how I am mentally, so they can deal with it. And that's probably the thing that goes through a lot of people's heads. But you can't blame that kind of stuff on the fact that you aren't doing good mentally. Because then what if the person who's making fun of you isn't doing good mentally? Then it's just okay for them to be mean to you? No, you don't think it's okay when people are being mean to you, but you think it's okay when you're being mean to people. So, no matter what's going on, whether you've lost someone or not, don't be mean. And I know I keep getting off track from what the topic is, but that's because this is stuff that all just stems from losing people. So, because the loss of people, while it's a big thing, it's a really short topic to talk about if you're not a therapist. Because really all there is to it is that this person is dead. And when someone dies, they're just gone. That's all that's the biggest thing to it. So, Yeah, I'm not trying to have a super short video, which I know kind of sounds like, oh, you're trying to get longer view times. No, I'm not. I want this to mean something. I feel like if my videos are too short, then they don't mean anything. Because if they don't mean anything, then what's the point? What's the point of the video?
I'll let them know they need to give you.
Because I don't want to be seen as like the guy who's super happy and all that. That's not who I am. I'm not trying to pretend to be that guy. But whatever I am doesn't matter much right now. Because right now what I am is trying to help
I wanted to steal that
everyone.
cross long before it ever even made it to that auction.
So,
The same auction where I couldn't have my men around to do any surprises. But instead of going
Ever-
I listened to you. And now we have competition.
whatever the deal is,
Or maybe you wanted to try and
sorry, I keep getting silent, but I'm just trying to think. I had a lot that I wanted to talk about, but it's easy to realize how repetitive what you're saying gets quickly. So
if not,
now I'm just trying to think of if there even is anything else to say, because it doesn't seem like it. So I feel like this is roughly the end of this, but this is a really short one, serious talk. This is a really short serious talk video. But that's okay, because dragging them all out to be an hour long anyways wouldn't make much sense. So yeah. Hope everyone is everyone has a good day, and even if you're dealing with loss, I hope you are able to not get over it, because you don't get over it, but I hope you are able to succumb to it, and you are able to realize that it's okay to lose people, because that is what the main point of this video is. I'm not going to try to do my whole funny outro thing, where I'm like all up giddy, because this series is not the place for that. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help people, and trying to be funny it's not always a bad way to help people, but in this exact situation, it's not how you should go about it. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I hope everyone has a great day, and I will see you all next time. Bye.